Hello, I'm Steve. A little about myself. I'm a retired law enforcement officer with 20 years of service. I began my career in the jail, worked the road, and became an investigator. During my career, my training consisted of everything from SWAT to becoming a state certified crime scene technician. I've investigated crimes from thefts to homicides. After retiring and becoming aware of true crime and web sleuths, I started my channel for web sleuths to better understand the perspectives of law enforcement. Not only do we cover out into are considered cold. Join me as we look and bring attention to these critical cases.
Hello, everyone. Glad you're able to join us tonight. If you're new to the channel, we welcome you and thank you for being here. And while you're in chat, always be mindful to be respectful of the mods, the families, and each other. We'll have a presentation tonight, and Mrs. Steve, during that presentation, if you have any questions that you wish to be addressed, we will answer those after the presentation. And so that we'll have some understanding, and that's the way it usually goes here on the show, and it works out real well. But before we get into the show, I want to thank, last night I was a guest. I had been invited by another YouTube channel, The Drunk Turkey Show. I know, when I first heard the name, I said, what is that? But I had seen them before, and so when they asked me to be a guest on their show, I embraced it absolutely. Went there, absolutely great host. They had some really great questions, and had a great show last night. If you haven't checked them out, absolutely make sure you do so, and support them in any shape, form, or fashion that you can. They were very gracious, had some great questions, and had some good insight on the cases. And it was surprising, that as we go out and creators work together and collab, I absolutely embrace every opportunity of that. And there's so many great creators out there that I look forward to working with in the future. So I want to, like I say, give a shout out to the Drunk Turkey Show and thank them for having me and considering for me to be a part of their show. So thank you, guys. All right. With that being said, we're going to get into tonight's. That if you have any information on this case of the Delphi case of Libya and Abby's homicides, absolutely make sure that that information is tipped in, and that the authorities have it, so that they can make sure that justice is found for Libya and Abby. All right. Well, I've been off for a few days. Wasn't feeling well, so we missed the last show earlier in the week. And but there's a few things that have occurred in the last couple of weeks. It has boiled to the surface, and it has not so much tainted the case against Richard Allen, but there is some things that the courts probably will have to address in the future, because the attorneys who withdrew are now trying to file some things, but the judge pretty well settled that issue by saying you're no longer a part of this case. You no longer represent Mr. Allen, and so therefore we don't have to listen to it. So we'll see what the avenues that they'll seek forth in the future, and are this freak show that's been going on from the 136-page release, and all the evidence that was stated, and the descriptions that were included in, and then the releasing of some of the images that are reportedly of the crime scene, and everything that has just absolutely created this perfect storm that has clouded a lot of the issues, made the attorneys a bigger story than what their clients' rights to a fair trial are. And it shouldn't be that way. And so the judge was put into a corner. And now, since the attorneys have withdrew, they've made statements that they were ambushed, and that and they've provided a storyline of what the judge was forcing them into. Either you withdraw from the case, or I'm going to publicly shame you. Now, when the judge came in and called the court to order, that when she explained that there was some unforeseen situation that had happened during the thing last week, that if that was the case, she wouldn't have stated that, because that wouldn't be an unforeseen. Now, if you tell the attorneys that either you withdraw or we're going to go out there and publicly shame you. So we have absolute polar opposites of what the judge believes went on in her chambers and what these attorneys are saying. And of course, I'm sure that there was a court reporter in those chambers, and there's going to be some type of memorialization of those through those scripts or through the transcripts that were collected by the court reporter. And so if the defense attorneys continue along that line, it will come out at some point. Will it come out before the trial for Richard Allen? I doubt so, because the judge has pretty well said that, it's a done deal on that. So whatever their course of action is for bigger minds and for attorneys and for whatever avenues that they have that they can go. But the judge has now addressed the issue, and so it moves us right along. But right now, I'm on the side of the judge. She absolutely, from the time that she took command in the courtroom last week, and as she progressed and explained about what was going to happen and what the course would be, and now we find that a week later, where we're at now, and it's moving forward. Or not even a week later, just a few days later. All right. This, of course, is Andrew Baldwin. He's one of the attorneys. He's the one that within the hearing that withdrew during the court. And then, of course, we have Rosie, who is the other attorney that the judge says that will be submitting in writing his withdrawal. But since then, he has not put that in writing, but he did file a filing saying that they were put into they were ambushed and that they were coerced to withdraw. And but like I said, the judge handled that in her statement of saying that it wasn't properly filed, as they're no longer representing Allen, and bye-bye. And so absolutely, that everything you can imagine that in this freak show and this book. I mean, you watch daytime soap operas and you don't see all the ups and downs as what this is. Are these attorneys, and will they at some point, and I think it's not going to be long off, that they're going to be making the rounds of the news and of the social media and possibly even books and things of that nature. I don't know of any other reason of why they are doing this, some of these things and these steps they took, even representing Richard Allen. It didn't seem that anything was in the best interest of Richard Allen. It was more in the interest of the attorneys, and it continues to appear to be that way. I hope, and I'm hoping that the judge has taken the steps that will now guarantee that Richard Allen will get a fair trial with these new attorneys. And that is what this show is about tonight, the 2.0 that we are going to be starting absolutely anew. The 136 page will not be a part of what will be entered into court in any type of filings by the previous attorneys. Now, the new attorneys may look at that and say, oh, there's some truth in some parts of this, and let's embrace them. Or they may absolutely go another route, or we may just have a simple plea deal. That these new attorneys, that, they see what they're having to come into the case with, what they're going to have to work with, what witnesses have been damaged that were coming to assist the defense, and that through these previous attorneys that may have damaged relationships or may even damage the ability for them to come forward and testify in the behalf of Richard Allen. So there's possibilities that there's some damage has been done to this case, and we'll just have to see how it goes. But with the new attorneys, and we'll see what issues they bring up. Will they be addressing some of the same suppression? And I believe that will happen. That these, while they may not embrace the 136 pages of that, whatever it was, like I said, press conference, news release, whatever they were doing, but not so much for the court's benefit, but for them. Taking it to the extremes that they took and what damages may have happened, that the new attorneys were going to have to absolutely either embrace it and say certain parts of it are true, and will they be using it in the suppression part of it? Because there are some issues as far as the attorneys addressing how are we going to separate Richard Allen from that crime scene. Because Richard, regardless of at what point he's represented, he has painted himself into a corner. It doesn't matter which attorneys are representing him. Richard Allen is the one that says, I was on that bridge. It's Richard Allen's bullet that was found at the crime scene. It's Richard Allen that made those phone calls to family members. And these are all huge obstacles for any defense attorneys. Doesn't matter if it's the first generation of attorneys or it's this new 2.0 second generations of attorneys. They have an uphill battle, all for the fact of what Richard Allen has done to his own case. But if Richard Allen is the one that is responsible for this crime, and all things lead and point to that currently through the affidavits of the arrest warrants, the search warrants, everything that we know about the case, even statements made by him, shows that, hey, it was me. And so is there any way that these attorneys will be able to fight that? We'll just have to see how the court addresses it and as we move forward. But anyway, here's those ambushed attorneys, and what will happen to them? Will they be sanctions and investigations? Because is it absolutely over what they did? I don't think so. I think that there may be some sanctions or something in there before the fact that they were officers of the courts, and or they may not be. I don't know how Indiana will address it. I just hope that if these attorneys did anything that harmed Richard Allen's ability to receive a fair trial, that steps should be taken against them for the fact that defense attorneys should not harm their client any more than the prosecution or law enforcement should harm the ability of someone getting a fair trial. And so we have to look at that and hope that that is not the case. But as I said, the attorney says that they were coerced and ambushed. And of course, the court ordered them to remove Rozzi's filings and from the record books, and note that it was an error since Rozzi is no longer considered legally a part of the case, and due to him being removed prior to filing of the motion on October 25th. And Fig had a great show about this. Some attorneys went on there and explained it very. It was if you want to see the proper handling and interpretation of the law, you go to those attorneys. And Fig has the connections, and he brought on a great crew that came in there and were able to explain it where everyone can understand. And it's from the podcast. And I can't remember their name, but absolutely, it was a great show. If you get a chance, check that show out also. Now, Allen's new court-appointed defenders are, and I may butcher these names, Robert Stemmen and William Labrado. And if I tore up your names, I apologize. but anyway, they are the new attorneys that will be representing Richard Allen, and it's starting from day one. Everything will be just, from the suppression hearings to them filing. Are they going to try to work any type of plea deal? Will they be trying to find out if there are third parties involved? Because now it brings in, are they going to go down the path of Keegan Klein? Or are they going to go down the path of Ron Logan? And are they going to embrace some of the FBI reports and those search warrants of the Logan property of why he was such a key person of interest early on, and what made the FBI look at Ron Logan so hard, and what steps would be taken? And the same, what as far as the Indiana State Police and what made them look at Keegan Klein so hard, and through those transcripts. And all of that is right back on the table, and we just don't know where it's going to end up and how far they're going to take it. But as we look at it, these individuals, the new attorneys, they're well qualified, because the court will not allow anyone to be a part of this case that isn't a qualified attorney. Now, we saw that in the first assignment of the two attorneys representing, it turned into a freak show, a clown show and did the court anticipate that? No, but there's remedies to what those actions were, and they're going to move on as they have. But one of the attorneys is a former deputy prosecutor, and so he's been on the other side. He's a former SWAT member, former narcotics detective, so he knows the ins and outs of law enforcement, which is far better for Richard Allen for the fact that I worked with a law enforcement investigator that went into the court systems and became a prosecutor. And these types of representatives and attorneys, they know the procedures of law enforcement. And so they'll give them a little bit better insight of being on the streets, understand how investigations go, know how the CSI works. And so I think this is a better fit for Richard Allen than what he had previously. And then, of course, we got the decorum hearing that is coming up on the 31st. Of course, TV, it won't be on TV, and the media won't be allowed to do any of the filming. And on this hearing, do I think that will change? Absolutely. I believe that the judge will take the necessary steps to ensure that Richard Allen's rights are protected, and that the public's right to see and understand what's going on in that courtroom is fair. And there's no better way of doing that than opening up cameras. So I'm hoping, not saying that's a fact, I'm just hoping that that is what occurs. All right. But regardless of any of the hearings, I look forward that at some point, because up until this point, the only constant was that at every hearing, there was going to be something unknown happen. I'm looking forward to a hearing where everything is absolutely level and it works as these hearings are supposed to work. And that we don't have all this turmoil of what's going on in the courtroom, and things that are clouding the issue of, is the offender who is currently being held, is he the one that's responsible for this case? And so we have to go with that. And but anyway, so we'll get started. We have any questions?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right. Let's see here.
I'm glad it came to this. I have watched and didn't understand what was happening with that 136 page. Never seen anything like it. But from that, we have to say that from those first two attorneys, we learned far more about this case than we would have had or would have known without this. But and like so we as a community have a better understanding, but we have to not always just take on face value that what the attorney said is the only explanation. There's a lot of explanations that from their descriptions of the crime scene and from the images other than what the defense says it is. So there's other alternative storylines, possibilities.
Ready?
I am.
All right, we're going to start with some blue lights tonight.
Absolutely.
We got single mom true crime. Go.
All right. Love it here. Been busy lately, but I'm back. Thank you. I'm glad you're here.
Member for 6 months.
We appreciate your support.
We sure do.
I've got this downsized and I need to make it big so I can read it.
If you were going to do that so you could see it. All right. And Miss Gail.
$10 super sticker. Thank you for your support. We appreciate that.
All right. And then I got one more for Miss Bamasin.
Gifted 1 True Crime Web membership. Thank you. Appreciate that.
We appreciate that. All right. Molly put the link out there to the prosecutor's website thing that you did. What's his name? Fig. Okay, so that's in chat somewhere. Good luck if you can find that.
Put it up every now and then. We appreciate it, mods.
Yeah. All right. And then Kelt has asked if the new grandbaby has arrived. And no, not yet. But when it happens, I promise y'all will know. I won't be able to contain it. All right. Now let's get into some questions. We're going to start off with Copper Horse. What is cooking in Delphi?
Man, I'm telling you, like I said, regardless of what is cooking, I hope it's not, what is it? A pot, when you have those dinners, pot surprise? Potluck dinners. I'm tired of those potluck dinners. That's what we've had for the last few months. And I don't want any more of that. I want something that is in the order of what we see so often in these trials, that we don't have people that are trying to flank the gag order and throw people under the bus that may or may not be involved in this crime. And that is not fair, regardless if they have the right to do it. And just because you have the right to do something doesn't always mean it's the right thing to do. And if that was the case, that they had, and they could throw names out there and people under the bus that have absolutely nothing to do with this, shame on them.
Okay. Here, hold on one second. Let me get caught up here, and I'm still behind. Let's see here. That one. And from Junior, does RA want the old attorneys? I haven't heard what he said.
I would expect that that may be exactly what he would want. In his situation, that he may want to do that to cloud the issue and create just chaos within the court system, for the fact that this chaos is far less of what he faces when he gets to trial. And I'm sure that the previous attorneys would want nothing more than what you just said, that they would want Richard Allen to say yes. And will they take that route? I hope not. I hope they do the right thing and just back away from it and let these new attorneys address the issues, address the facts, and go through the courts as it's supposed to go, and progress through the courts and gets before that jury as soon as possible.
Okay.
But that's a good point. Regardless, I'm sure the attorneys want that. The previous attorneys, not the new attorneys, but the previous attorneys.
Wow, we got somebody from Scotland.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Just saw that. All right. And from Digital, one of the new attorneys has appeared on local news as an expert commentator about this case. opinion?
Excellent. I would hope that the attorneys already know as much about this case as they can. And if he's an expert commentator on this or just about the legal process, that's fine. I really don't have an issue with it. I believe that that gives them and gives us, and I'm talking about when I say us, that it gives society that we don't have to sit back and wait for someone to get up to speed. The more these attorneys that are from anywhere within the state and more knowledge they have about this case pre being assigned to it, great. And I hope it benefits his defense.
Okay. And from Miranda at True Crime Web, do you think Rozzy and Baldwin could have pulled this with a male judge?
Oh yes, I mean they don't. Yes, um, and that's one thing. When you look at that bench, it ain't. It has nothing to do with male or female, and for the fact that that is not even in within the court systems and the laws and the attorneys and things. Was there a time in history that might have been the issue? Probably so, but not now. Judge Gull got to this position through her hard work, her knowledge, her demeanor, and her professional abilities to address the laws. And anytime that you try to go after a judge, it doesn't ever work out for you. I've seen judges, and judges, I mean, there's no stronger representation of the law than what a judge is. And I have utmost respect for him. And when I say judge, gender has absolutely nothing to do with it, in my opinion.
All right. Ollie's gonna get me in trouble.
Who is?
Ollie. All right. And Miss Miranda at True Crime Web, do you know anything about rope being found at the crime scene? And was there any rope present in the crime scene photos that you saw?
I think there was some representation and rumors and even some radio traffic that mentioned rope. And then someone said they saw some yellow rope in some of the images. I didn't see it in the images that I had, or I didn't pay attention to it if I did see it, or I just took it for being crime scene tape. But no, I didn't really see anything that was representative of rope. And if it's rope that law enforcement introduced into the crime scene, it's a non-issue. It'll just be described and handled through the course of action investigations of which officer brought it in, why, and what was it used. And it would be the same thing that if it was something that the offender brought into the scene, or if it was something that was left there by possibly property owners at some point from a different time period, but it was found within the crime scene. And all that would be explained regardless if there's rope there or not. It will be explained through the CSI and through the court as they discuss everything that was found at the crime scene, and it's documented, photographed, logged, and it'll be entered into the courts for presentation to the judge and jury. But and for their to look at that evidence, to weigh it, evaluate it, and what does it mean at any particular part of the crime.
All right. And Miranda at True Crime Web, do you think the judge will change her mind and allow cameras in the courtroom?
I do. I really do. I know that this next one, will she be sitting and trying to figure out and talking to for the fact that we have new attorneys now, and I think it's a wise decision on her part to see what the new attorneys say, regardless of what the other attorneys said. These are two new attorneys. What would their arguments be for cameras? and even from the state, what will the state change their opinions of what should be televised? But I think in at the end of the day, the defense attorneys should have a larger say of what they want for their clients' right to a fair trial, and how it would affect it. And, but at the end of the day, I do think that the defense should have a large say or opinion of which way it should go as far as cameras.
Okay. Let me get caught up. Righty. All right. And WL22, will they be allowed in court October 31st, Allen County?
No, I don't. She has that on the 31st, it will not be televised, but any future after that may possibly be so. Because here it says that the court on Friday did deny all requests for media to film at the next scheduled meeting on October the 31st. And that was due to unauthorized filming and broadcasting of pre-hearing activities last week. And so she's penalizing what occurred in the last hearing, and she's carrying it over to see and correct those issues. And so she'll, I'm sure that at some point, that if she does allow them, they're going to have certain times that when that camera's turned on, it has to be focused at a particular spot. And when certain people take the stand, it can only be focused on certain areas of the court, or that's what I've seen in the other court hearings. And I expect that that's what will probably happen here, rather than the cameras being able to pan around the room, that they're going to have the parameters will be set, and she'll probably address those, or at least I hope she does, where that can occur.
Drunk Turkey is in chat. Kristen behind the crime doors in chat. I just saw her.
Okay. Like I said, appreciate Drunk Turkey Show being here in the house. Absolutely. Like I said, they were very gracious host, and I enjoyed my time, and we answer a lot of questions regarding Delphi and also Kohlberger. So check that one out on theirs. And like I said, give them as much support as possible.
And the links are in the chat.
And the links are in the chat to that. Thank y'all.
Horse and Molly has dropped it a couple of times.
Excellent. And appreciate Kristen behind the crime door being here tonight too.
Good.
Thank you.
Mind of Monsters just popped in.
Mind of Monsters. I am telling you, I've got all the YouTubers in here. Thank y'all.
All right. Let me see here if I got anything else. All right. I think I'm good there. Hey, we got y'all busy tonight. Okay, so let's go see what we got going. We have from Kelt. Could that make him biased against the Frank's argument that there were lies in the PCA? I guess he still has plenty of LE friends.
And that's a lot of people think that attorneys and prosecutors and law enforcement, we hate each other. We don't. There's law enforcement. We sit down at the table, regardless if it's a prosecutor side or if it's the defense side. It's not that, of course, we may be on different sides of it, but we're all out there seeking one thing: justice. And it's a fine edge of the defense looking at and making sure that we, as law enforcement, did our job correctly. And if we do our job correctly and they hold us to that, then that's exactly what they're supposed to do. And to make sure that the facts are actually the facts, that what we collected, what we have is true and accurate and says this individual is the one that's responsible. And so how can you be mad at someone or be angry that they're just trying to hold you to make you a better investigator or a finder of fact. And so, or at least that's the way I look at it. And so the prosecutors and the defense attorneys and law enforcement, we work well together. Now, I have seen where there's some of them absolutely hated each other, but that's not always the case. It has a lot to do with personality and integrity and things. And so it's like everything. Not always does everybody get along, but all in all, we're all wanting one thing, and that's justice.
Yes, we do. All right. And from Mindy, question, how is it Rozzy got booted even though he didn't withdraw from the case officially? Is that even legal?
The judge thought that he had withdrew and stated as such that was her understanding. And she made a filing by tossing whatever he had filed that he is no longer. And so, you know, the judge is the one that appointed him in the first place, and whatever her understanding is. And then, of course, the final say, I don't know what that would be in the next step as they move forward. But currently now we have these two new attorneys, and what will they do, and how will they embrace the previous attorneys, and how will the previous attorneys embrace them? What would be the cooperation between all these attorneys? Because the judge made mention that the attorneys she had requested, that although they didn't have to work with them, that they advised they would. So we'll see where that goes. But the judge and everything that a judge does is open for other attorneys to appeal certain processes, as long as they go through the rules of the court and the Constitution. And so those rules are there. And if she did something that's not right, that will be addressed at some point.
All right, now we're going to break and do some blue lights. We have Cecil Hotel super sticker.
$2. Thank you. Appreciate your support. And you were Cecil Hotel was where the drunk turkey show there came in.
Okay. And Miss Peggy.
$5 super sticker. Thank you for your support.
Thank you so much. And we've got Lone Pony.
It wouldn't surprise me if they go with a scary troll from the Billy Goat Scruff theory. Just as unbelievable as all. You have to love that.
I have not heard of the Billy Goat Scruff in years.
Oh man,
That is hysterical.
It is.
All right. And from Mind of Monsters.
Love you both. Thank you for all your knowledge and staying true to the girls in this case. Thank you. And we will be in Florida in the coming weeks, and hope to get back with you, Mind of Monsters, and we'll meet again. Thank you.
And Ruckus is in chat.
Hello, Ruckus.
And Miss Bamacian.
Wanted to watch last night, but couldn't remember what was drunk. Yeah, it's the drunk turkey.
That's priceless.
It is.
That is hysterical.
And it's absolutely totally opposite of what you would think when you read the title Drunk Turkey Show. Absolutely. That is on polar opposite. Absolutely great host, and asked some very pointed questions, and hopefully I was able to answer them.
Ready?
Yes.
Christian behind the crime door.
Love your contribution to this case so much. Thank you. Appreciate it. And love what you do with your channel and everything that all these creators, for the fact that while everyone does certain things on their channels, we all have one thing in common, that we want to bring awareness to the case. And through that awareness, it makes sure that other cases are brought and have attention. And so, you know, my hat's off to the YouTube creators. I wish I had found them years ago.
All right. And Curtis West.
$5 super sticker. Thank you. Appreciate your support.
So we appreciate that. All right. So now I'm going to have to give you some questions because I'm behind 62 chats.
Okay.
And from Miss Barbara, do you think the prosecution has deposed R.A.'s daughter and could possibly call her as a witness?
I absolutely do. I believe that is a possibility. on so many different possibilities of that. Is she a witness for the state, or is she a witness for the defense? Because she's from within that household. She has knowledge and information that no one else in this world possesses.
Okay, and Kelt, will there be punishment for the other men that were sharing the photos?
I don't think so. I mean, if we look at the individuals that, and I don't know who the original people that were sharing it um, are. I've heard names and things, but my understanding, I think Ruckus addressed it and has spoke to one of the individuals that everything's fine. He did the right thing. He stepped forward and said, "Yes, I'm. You know, my part was this," and the court's happy and made certain recommendations. From my understanding, next time you're on, whenever y'all see Ruckus, make sure you ask him what his understanding of that is. But that individual has nothing that he's having to face. So I don't think there'll be any type of punishment for them, because they are not the ones that took it for whatever purpose and put it out there. Those people may have issues that's within the officer of the court issues. That's my opinion. I could be dead wrong.
And from Ms. Dale, at True Crime Web, do you think RA's plea will change now, and when will the new attorney start?
I'm sure they've already started just as soon as they were put on the case and assigned as his new court-appointed defenders. That's always on the table. Will he? If he's the one responsible and they have all the evidence, and they probably have far more evidence than what we know of, and I hope so. But if they do, and the defense and Mr. Allen come to the conclusion that a plea deal is in the best interest for justice, and the courts agree and the prosecution agree, then we'll have a plea deal. If they don't, then we won't. We'll be going to trial.
And from Deb, Mr. Steve, do you think Abby and Libby were moved by force and then brought back? Is that possible?
No, I think that my personal opinion is that whatever happened from the time that they left that bridge down the hill, that at some point there was some type of flight, and that's what took them to that crossing the creek and going onto that plateau on the other side. And I think that almost everything happened probably within 25 to 50 feet of where those images that have been put out there. And I'm only talking about 2 images of very limited information. If you count the F tree, 3 images, but very limited of whatever that moment in time that those images were taken. And they should be hundreds, if not thousands of images taken through photography, through video, through 3D imaging, whatever technologies were brought to the crime scene. But I believe that Libby and Abby, under their own power, made it to that location. And then the confrontation and the homicides occurred. And that through what was stated in the FBI affidavit, that a lot of truth is within that. And that there was a lot of blood pattern, a lot of blood spatter, and they expect that the offender would have that transfer of the blood spatter onto themselves. And so I think all that happened on the Logan property and not in the creek. And there's a lot of argument that people think that the crime happened somewhere else and they were moved up there. and there's that possibility, but I still think it's Lone Wolf, and Lone Wolf would be Richard Allen only.
Randy Gravitz in chat.
Randy, good to see you. I'm glad you're here, bud.
Okay. And from Ange Pang, Mr. Steve, have you done any research on CCLE? I wish you would. You seem to be a good person. If nothing else, there's a name in there.
No, I haven't looked at the local law enforcement and the sheriff's office as far as, and every time I hear about there's corruption and things, absolutely. If there is proof of that, send it to the people that matter. And if you don't want to send it to the people that can handle it or whatever, send it to me. I have a tip line. I'll make sure it gets to somebody. But you know, people often look at that everything is easily thrown towards that corruption exists. Well, if it exists, present that evidence and get that information to the proper authorities, and make sure it's out there. And like I said, either, rather than a lot of people just saying, well, it exists and I have proof of it, but they never offer that proof. And if you don't have the information yourself, but you know who does, absolutely give them my email. Tell them to get in touch with me. If there's somebody out there that is corrupt and they're doing harm to society, they don't need to be doing that. So let's report them to the proper authorities and make sure that they don't have that power.
All right. And Blue Eye from Miss Olivia.
Member for 6 months. Thank you. Appreciate your support.
Oh, she gets a double whammy. Look at there.
Oh, $5 super. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Olivia. We appreciate you. All right. And from Kelt, why does Rossi have to quit? The leak didn't come from his office.
Whatever happened within those court in chambers was enough to convince that the judge accepted whatever and went that route and accepted his withdrawal, and that he said that he was going to withdraw. And so she, like I said, we have polar opposite of the storyline. The two, or Rosie says that they were ambushed and forced, and she says it was an unforeseen occurrence that, and so which is the truth? I don't know right now, but at some point that will come out. And what the judge has determined that he's not to be a part of this case, and she has control of the case of who will represent Richard Allen in his best interest.
Okay. And from Venue, Mr. Steve, do you think the new attorneys will pick up on the Odin angle?
I don't know. I have absolutely no idea. And if they do, they do. And that'll be a battle they'll have to fight.
Good luck. Okay. And from Ruckus, at Steve, have you ever seen a change of legal representation this late in a case?
I'm trying to think, in any case I ever worked, did I ever see a change of legal representation? The only changes I ever saw was possibly due to illness of judges, and the judges would recuse themselves or something, but that's the only thing. But as far as attorneys, now, if you go through, whereas you'll have these cases of where attorneys are representing these nuts that attack the attorneys. Yes, you'll see that sometime, that you'll have these individuals that they're represented by a some type of individual with some type of mental issues, and they want to represent themselves. They want to fire their attorneys, and they'll do everything from attack individuals in the courtroom, even try to attack the judges, or they'll attack the attorney, and the attorney will ask to be withdrawn from the case, and not always is it granted, but it, that they may grant it, but have them to stay within the courtroom. I've seen some of those things, but as far as absolutely new attorneys brought in, I haven't seen. But just as soon as I say that, somebody will bring it up, and I'll say, "Oh, case."
Surely not.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. And Scottish Queen, does a judge choose his court defense attorneys?
Well, they don't, they appoint them, and so they have in this case, and so yes, I would say that the judge plays a large part because she appointed the first two attorneys, and it turned out to be a freak show. And now we have the new attorneys, and let's hope this one doesn't turn out in the same fashion.
And from Velvet Underground, why was it brushed over about the gentleman who unalived himself in the middle of this whole leak? Are they going to investigate that more? Is that was Judge Gull knew more about?
Oh, I'm sure that there's ongoing investigations to make and cover all the bases. For the fact that I don't, that's only been a few weeks that when that occurred, and so that investigation and possibility, and we just now had what happened with the previous attorneys go on, and what are all the facts, and where will it go? No, I don't think that investigation is closed yet.
They got me running. Name up sheet of papers almost filled
Excellent. She's a great multitasker, though.
out. I have to be with you. All right. And SB 74, Steve, do you concur with Ruckus that they should have raked and scraped the area?
They may have. I don't know. We don't have all the images. We only have what I said, and I don't even know how accurate those images are. And if the images are accurate and they're at a certain stage in there and they haven't gotten to that point, we don't know what all the facts and what all was done within that CSI, by the CSI within that crime scene. That may absolutely be something that did occur. We just don't know.
Okay. And from Truffles.
$5 super sticker. Thank you. Appreciate your support.
And from Molly at True Crime Web, I wonder, like Watergate, what did Rozzy know and when did he know it? And this is Crazy Town now.
Yes, and I hope Crazy Town, I hope the mayor and head councilman are gone from Crazy Town. I hope they've gone on and they're way down the road now, and moving on to where the next Crazy Town. But that is a great question. What did they know, and what did he know, and when did he know it? And that may play a huge part in his future as an attorney.
And from Miss Betty at Steve, how far do you think this attorney replacement has set this case back? Appreciate all you do, and Mrs. Steve too.
1 year. We're starting off at the exact same place as when the first two attorneys took their positions, and so that's where we're at. Because they will be granted whatever time it takes for them to get up to speed and get discovery and to look at all that information that's contained and all the records, and be able to give Richard Allen, a fair representation, so that I hate that the position that he is put in, because, like I said, who has suffered for this? Of course, the families have suffered, but this offender who has put himself at the crime scene and committed this crime, we still have to give him his rights to a fair trial, and hopefully he hasn't lost that.
And from Olivia, isn't RA at the judge's mercy as far as lawyers go?
Yes. Like I said, she appoints the attorneys. She goes out there, but these attorneys have to meet whatever the case law is. That she can't go out and just find two brand new attorneys that don't meet the qualifications that can give the representation for Richard Allen. Whatever the state law says, that these are the minimum requirements, that these are the charges that Richard Allen faces. These are the sentences possible that will that Richard Allen may face. And whatever those sentences are, and if it's the ultimate, then of course they have to meet the DP qualifications as an attorneys. And anyone that meets those qualifications are well versed in the laws. And so the judge can't just, like say, go out and get two weak attorneys. They're going to have to get professionals that know the law. And just because you know the law sometimes don't mean that you're not nuts, as we just saw previous attorneys or whatever driven. I don't know that the previous attorneys were crazy or what, but whatever drove them down that path, I don't agree with.
Okay. Blue light for Mitzi.
Mr. and Mrs. Steve are the best true crime duo. Yes. Now, Mrs. Steve made me sick, but she also made me well. So
See there?
I don't care what Ruckus says. Ruckus is the super spreader of whatever he brought to us. I'm sure he went to some playground and infected children.
I think he just touched all those.
Yeah, he's going around touching doorknobs and toys and slides.
All right, and from Brutally Honest, how you explain
the FLIR didn't find on.
drone?
You know, I don't even know what technologies were used. I know that has been mentioned that they were a certain type of drones there. That will come out and be absolutely and where is the footage that, you know, when you fly a drone, I have a drone that when I put it up, you know, I have the camera on and it's putting all the image onto the card. And if there is a FLIR drone, where's the footage for it? Let's look at it. Let's see it. And if it exists. And I don't know. Just for the fact that someone says that this is what they did doesn't mean they went over that exact area. And it's not always easy. We just watched a manhunt of an individual in up north where the law enforcement had those drones and FLIR up nightly looking for an individual. And it was what, a 2 or 3 week search. And they had them in a very confined area. So just because, even if you did have it, doesn't mean that you're going to see and identify an individual or a victim.
Okay. And Velvet Underground, Steve, I don't understand these processes. When is a grand jury used, like in John Bonet case?
Well, that's up to prosecutors. Prosecutors can call in a grand jury and present evidence to them and bring in law enforcement and investigators and witnesses. And it's all up to when the prosecutor wants to do that, and only the prosecutor. It's not left up to anyone other than. And so if the prosecutor wants to do it, that's what they do. Or at least that's here in Georgia. I don't know about these other states.
All right. And Scottish Queen at True Crime Web, what is your opinion on how there is no DNA of RA in that crime scene? Can an offender not leave any DNA after being so up close and moving the girls, etc.?
I agree with you 100%. I believe there is DNA there. It's hard to find DNA. Like I said, I've worked cases where I knew that a offender made contact, and I knew within 18 inches by 24 inches of where that offender was. And he made contact at at 25 mile an hour plus because the airbag's deployed with an airbag. I knew his DNA was there, and it still took 5 times getting it to the crime lab to find it. And so the DNA, I believe, is within that crime scene and within some of the evidence that was collected. How much and has it been located? The sciences and the progress of the ability of locating DNA advances every day. And we may not just be at that level of technologies to find the DNA that's at this crime scene, but I do expect it's there. It just hasn't been located yet. That's my opinion.
All right, and from Miranda at True Crime Web, do you think this trial is happening in January, or do you think the new defense will request a continuance?
The judge already said that they, whatever they want to do, that she expects, and that she doesn't expect that these attorneys will proceed with the current court schedule. And so I think they would be giving the same leeway that these other attorneys were given, as much as when do you want to start setting the dates. And I think these new attorneys will have a great amount of input on that decision of when when trial will be. But no, I do not see January as being probably not even within a year of that, but hopefully so, but I don't think so.
All right, and Chemo Sabi, how long after CSI starts processing a crime scene can the victim be removed?
It depends on so much of what surrounds that victim, how much evidence is there, what type of blood spatter. Can it be an hour or two? Yes, it can be that quick. Or it can be 8 hours or more. I mean, you never know. It's so tedious because working these crime scenes, you don't know if you have blood spatter. You don't know, do we have leaves? Do we have sticks? And what is all there, and how contaminated, and are there things hidden between you and the victims that you see there by leaf and other things? Are there shoe prints, or is there a blood trail? There's so much evidence that can be destroyed that sometimes it takes, like I said, there's no set time frame of how long it has to be. And so not being at that crime scene, I have no idea what the timeline was. But I've been at crime scenes for 48 hours straight.
Oh, yeah, easy.
That she would bring us and feed us, and so, just happens sometimes.
And this is priceless. WL22 at Ruckus picked up cooties at Chuck E. Cheese's. I had to, Ruckus, sorry. All right. And from Automobile, how big of an area do you think they sprayed luminol?
I think wherever they had anything that they started at a certain point and worked their way in, did they identify certain blood trails from looking at the victim? And because some of it you can see, what did they bring canines in to identify certain aspects of the crime scene? Don't know. There's technologies and animals trainings that didn't exist when I was first coming into it. And so, but I would expect that they probably everything within at least 50 feet, I would think, or at least I hope.
Okay. And from Velvet Underground.
Thank you for your answer. Can a grand jury be added at any time? Has this gotten too convoluted with small town connections that Indiana needs outside help? He's arrested. He's in jail. And we're in the court systems now. And I think, like with Kohlberger, that if there's certain hearings that probable cause hearings and things that happened with him in Idaho, that they had a grand jury prior to that probable cause hearing that set the stage that now that he was indicted, we don't have to have a probable cause. And so that took care of that. And so grand juries have very specific duties. And with this case here, we're past that. I think they've already had all the hearings for that. Now they're into the suppression parts. And will these new attorneys have new openings and avenues? It's possible.
Okay. And from Jen, is there a reason why there are two defense attorneys? Is that normal protocol in a case like this?
I think the crime carries the DP. And for the DP, if it's like most states, it requires specific attorneys with certain qualifications of trials involving other DP cases. And they have to be held at least one attorney is held at the top level, and the second assisting attorney is held to certain standards also. That's a little bit less than what the lead attorney is held at. And so it's all part of state law and part of protocol that these attorneys have to meet the criteria to represent defendants that face that ultimate penalty.
All right, and it looks like the last one. Snow Walker 7, pretty cool. Is it probably supposed that DNA might be underneath the victim's fingernails?
Yes, there's always scrapings and clippings of any type of, when you go into this type of situation, that if there's signs of a struggle or even if there's not, that you'll have to go in there and do that, for the fact that there's so many times that it does occur that during those struggles for life, and if there's defensive injuries or even if there's not, but as CSI people, we look at those fingernails. Are they broken? Are they bent back? Is there anything that looks like possibly skin under those fingernails? And even if you can't see it, you still scrape and you still cut those fingernails. You bag it, you document it, you photograph it. And so it's all part of the process that when you handle these victims, that you go through that process, for the fact that that may be the only evidence that links the offender and the victim.
You are done.
All right, guys. I appreciate everybody being here tonight. I appreciate all the YouTubers and all the creators that came in tonight. Thank you for your support. Look forward to working with y'all again in the future. And absolutely go out there and embrace them, support them also, guys. And thank our mods, all our community, the people that donated. It's absolutely amazing. And we thank everybody. And give us a thumbs up if you like the video. Make sure you share with others, and we thank y'all, and y'all stay safe.
Wait. I have a question. Let me pull it up. From Betty. Mrs. Steve, what was going through your mind doing the dragging a body scenes in that Tyvek suit for how fast can he drag me, and how fast can I get this crazy suit off? That was about it. It wasn't hot or anything of that nature. I literally put the bad thoughts out of my mind because I couldn't even go there.
And that brings up a thought of last night during supper. We were sitting at the dinner table at a restaurant, very nice restaurant, and we were talking about a case that was just brought to my attention about a victim suffering stab wounds. And so I look at Mrs. Steve and I ask her, I said, in this situation with this type of knife attack, would you? And she just stared at me and shook her head. And,
as I eat, right?
Yeah.
So,
but that's the normal conversations. Yeah. And so, but anyway, every now and then I get that 1,000-yard death stare.
Yeah. Actually, it was the daggers last night.
Yeah.
So, Thank y'all so very much. Welcome to our new mod at 63 Clocks. We greatly appreciate y'all's time, your efforts. Y'all are the best out there.
Thank
Could
you.
not do it without you. Don't forget the thumbs up.
Appreciate it, guys.
We love you.
Stay safe. See you soon.